Oh, okay. Just she's on that vacation or whatever. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Join space. Now we're up. There we go. So just for everybody, like just coming in the room, this is just a roundtable discussion on how to identify a tactic and play this play properly from here on out, instead of this insane, which we started speaking out against a while ago, this insane just buy and hodl idea. Because with what's going on right now, if you're in AMC and this conversion goes through and you're still on buy and hodl, you are going to get absolutely annihilated. If you're bag holding AMC right now at like 20, 30 bucks, maybe more, you are going to get destroyed if you think buy and hodl is what you're going to do through conversion, because you're going to get diluted twice. So anybody can come up and speak. This is more of a think tank. I guess real quick, just where I'm sitting, I'll just say what I plan on doing as of right now, because this is a fluid thing. The play can change immediately. If Aron comes out and says conversion's not going to work, it's off the table, then my whole plan's shot and I need to recalculate. But as of now, it looks to me like conversion will most likely go through, which means your APE, if you own any, is going to get converted from APE back to AMC on a one-to-one basis, meaning there's a potential arbitrage play there. Now, the interesting thing is right now APE's like $1.50 and AMC's around $5, right? So if we get converted, you're going to see close to 1 billion APE move into the AMC float, meaning the AMC float could be around 1.5 to 1.6 billion. So any shares you have of AMC are going to get diluted. Your price is going to come down. If you have $5 shares and you're holding, you're probably looking at like $2.50 to $3 after conversion, if current prices stay constant. So what I've done is I got rid of all my AMC. I'm going to own nothing but APE. I'm going to wait to see if APE runs through conversion up until, if it runs from say $1.50 to $3, I'm going to sell. If it doesn't and it stays at $1.50 and AMC stays at $5 or around those ranges, then I'm going to wait until after conversion to sell. And then I'm going to go in and play call options on the upside in hopes that shorts cover post conversion, because the share price is so low and that Aron gave them a bunch of APE super cheap. So now they own really, really cheap cost average AMC shares that they can use to cover their short positions. Things have to stay constant for that to work. If the conversion doesn't go through, I'm selling everything. I'm completely out of the play until I see potential on the upside from the cheap stock prices, which say AMC comes below $3. My plan is to buy really cheap call options around $3.50, $3, $3.50, and hope that shorts start covering under $3, which is logical because eventually they do want to get out of this play. Because Aron, after conversion, if reverse split and say we're sitting 30 to $50, he's going to immediately come out and do a capital raise. That's why holding AMC through conversion and not playing the volatility will absolutely destroy people. So that's pretty much my plan for if conversion passes. I'm set up for it, so I will be voting yes on it. If you have other thoughts, do I like what's going on? No. Do I think Aron is ripping us? Yes. But I can't stop it. He is a suit. He's going to play with the suits. He's going to put the company first. He's going to put you last. So this is what I'm doing. If anybody else has any thoughts or questions or want to make a comment.
Welcome to Froggy Stocks. Nothing I say is financial advice. This is just a think tank roundtable.
Will not go through, but don't they already have the votes? Like all the votes, like this, give it to Antara, all the shares. They already have those votes, don't they? Like all the people, those who are voting, like majority of the people that, like, I know all these call, all these call people, those who do it, they're already voting for yes. So I don't know why it won't would not go through.
I doubt that it fails. I'm pretty confident it's going to go through. But if you're going to play this play, you need to be paying attention, because if it doesn't go through, and it doesn't matter what side you're on, AMC or APE, if it doesn't convert, the stock's going to get crushed, because short sellers who are planning on converting their APE are going to be sitting there holding really cheap shares, and they're not going to care. They're just going to short it more. If we don't have some type of catalyst to force shorts into a position where they're basically Aron, by creating APE, was to buy Regal. That fell through. He got rug pulled, and somebody spilled the beans on him selling shares. So he sold off as much as he could, as quick as he could, to get it converted, because now it's useless. So Aron basically has created a situation where he's forcing shorts to be short and long, right? If you're short AMC and you didn't go long on APE, that's silly, because you're making guaranteed money with the conversion. So the threat is, and I don't think it's going to happen, but the threat is, if the conversion does not happen, then you're sitting holding stocks where your play is set up on the opposite. If APE doesn't convert, APE is going to go to like 50 cents. Nobody's going to care about it. It's going to be worthless. They're going to sell all the APE they own. They're going to short it, right? That's my thought. If APE does convert, then the shorts want to be long APE, short AMC, because what's going to happen, you're going to make 100% on the conversion. You're going to make 50 to 100% on your AMC short. Then what's going to happen is they're going to have the shares to cover their shorts for free. Aron sold them APE shares so they could cover their AMC shorts at a profit, which is going to help the bondholders. The bondholders are short AMC. Aron's going to let them cover in the money. Then, as they cover, AMC is going to go up in price, let's say hypothetically back to $10. What's going to happen? Aron issues a reverse split. Say it's 5-1. We go to 50. Then all of a sudden he says, I want to do a capital raise. I'm going to raise another $1 billion. As soon as he announces that, those old bondholder shorts come back and reshort AMC back down to $10 again. So if you're sitting here right now and your plan is to hold AMC all the way through this, just keep in mind that if we convert APE, your AMC shares are going to get diluted. Meaning if it's $5 now, your AMC shares could come down to $3. If you don't own any APE, you're just taking a loss. If you're 50-50, then you're going to balance out with the arbitrage. But the way I'm playing it now is I'm set up where I don't own any AMC. I'm only going to own APE. I'm going to take the 150% on the arbitrage. Then I'm going to sell everything really quick after conversion. If the reverse split comes in right away, I'm still going to buy some AMC calls at like a $3-4 strike. If it doesn't, I'm going to do the same thing. Then when it runs, as the shorts cover and it starts running, say like $5-10, whatever, I'm going to take all that profit. I'm going to wait for the reverse split. I will own no AMC or APE whatsoever. Then once it's reverse split and we see the new ceiling, which say it's $50, I'm going to buy puts on the downside and make my money back. I'm telling everybody right now, after this is reverse split, Aron's going to want to do a capital raise. Shorts are going to come back in. That's my thesis. That's how I'm going to play it. Aron diluted the piss out of us and took our money to raise a minimal amount of capital, but he did it because now his bondholders, his debtors, whatever you want to call them, they came to the table and promised him, if you do this for us, we'll sell you the debt back 30% on discount. So I'm going to play the downside and make my money back, because if you don't, someone else is going to do it and they're just going to take the money off the table anyways. It's not going to hurt AMC to play the downside anymore. And not one bit. If there's one thing Aron did, he did set this up where AMC has a 90% certainty of not going bankrupt. Unless the movies just quit printing and everybody quits going to the movies, AMC is not going to go bankrupt. So anyways, that's how I'm playing it. That's my thoughts on it.
But right now, Spence, it's up to you. You know what you do. Like I have a lot of APE because I I believe there is nothing, no matter how much we vote no, I think he's going to convert it because they already have the votes, you know. Yeah. And, I got a lot of APE. I don't have, I have very few AMC because I sold back, when, people can say whatever they want to, but, some of us, we had to do it, man, because we've been holding it for too long, haven't made any money. So, I didn't know what all this APE thing's gonna do and not. And sure enough, I mean, look where we are. So I bought a lot of cheap APE, and it does once it converts or whatever happens. But I will not wait for this reverse split because this Aron gave his suit buddies an easy way out to cover. They shot the living hell out of this stock, and Aron gave them the cover for pennies. And once it gets converted, they're going to I mean, who will not cover it if they have shorted the stock at 50, 30, 20 bucks? Why would not they cover if AMC goes to 250 or $3? Yep. So I'm gonna make my money, man. I'm not holding for anybody. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. If people still cannot think for themselves, if they still cannot see and still have to listen to these YouTubers and influencers and grifters, then it's their own damn fault, man.
Yeah, here's the deal. I don't care what you do. I'm not going to call anybody a shill or call anybody this or that or whatever. And if you have a different thought process, please come up and share it because I may be missing something. That's why we're doing a think tank. But right now, as of what I see, Aron has set this up where he's just going to dilute more AMC. So if you're holding nothing but AMC right now because you listen to like Matt Kors or whoever, you're down just as much as anybody that held APE, but now you're in a position where if you hold AMC through conversion, you're just getting diluted again by a lot, by like a billion shares, meaning you're going to come down 30, 40, maybe 60%, anywhere in that range in price. So
here's another thing. Let's say people, those who have average cost of $20 or $30, right? After the reverse split, your 10,000 shares are going to be left with 1,000 shares, right? And your one share has to be $200 to $300 to just make it even if you have $20 to $30 cost price. That's just messed up. Like, I don't know, but man, I don't see this going up anywhere. Like, that's crazy, dude.
There's still people thinking this thing is going to go to $100 without the split. And it's just insane to think that right now. I don't know what people are. You guys, if there's still people out there pushing like a moas narrative, that AMC is going to go to hundreds and hundreds of dollars, they're absolutely out of their minds and they're misleading you. It's crazy. But you can play this volatility. You can absolutely play this volatility that's coming up that Aron has created. And if you don't see it and you're not going to play it, then you're just going to sit and have your AMC diluted down to $3. So if you own, like Sugar says, if you own 1,000 shares and this conversion comes in, your 1,000 shares are going to devalue greatly if you only own AMC. That's why APE's so important right now. If the conversion goes through, which I think it will. So that's why I'm going to buy more APE. I'm going to buy more APE Monday, Tuesday, because I think it's going to come back down. I think we have a little bit of a market dip coming back up. I don't trust crypto bull runs over the weekend. It's more of a bull trap pump to generate liquidity. I've seen it hundreds of times. So even under $1.50 or around $1.50, I think APE's a great price. I'm going to buy more of it. And then I'm going to wait for news from Aron and AMC. They've already announced that they're going to hold a special meeting. That was in a PR release. So what we're looking for is Aron or AMC to come out and say, we have the special meeting scheduled for this date. I hope it's before earnings, which I think is March 1st. Then we go to it. Everybody gets their proxies or don't. We vote. The conversion passes. I hope the conversion and the reverse split vote are in the same package. I would love to see the conversion go through. If the reverse split doesn't go through, shorts are probably going to leave the play alone. They'll cover a little bit under $3, but then they're going to have to generate shorting back at $10 if the stock runs, right? So honestly, now that I say that, if Aron doesn't reverse split, you could see AMC run to like $10, but they're going to bring it right back down to 3. So
But
that's not really a good thing.
But can he back off? Like after he's announced publicly, like he can, if they want to do 10-1 reverse split, can he back off?
Honestly, at this point, I mean, he can do whatever he wants. Everybody's doing whatever they want, anyways. The SEC is nowhere to be found. FINRA's a joke. I mean, the DTCC is implicated. They're all in it together, man. So Aron, I think what he's been doing is testing the waters this entire time to see what he can get away with. I think there's so much crime that they actually can't get anybody.
But Spence, I mean, all this APE thing, this reverse split, this conversion, we didn't even had to do all this, man. Adam could have done so much more with this community, and there were like so many ways to raise money. But why would you give somebody hundreds of millions of shares for 66 cents if you're not helping them to,
they're short the stock and they're probably long on the bonds. He's in bed with his bondholders.
That's messed up.
He's paying. It's suits and ties and precious lies, man. Aron is a suit. Do I like him as a CEO? It's a hard question because he is making AMC untouchable, but he's doing it off our backs. But at the same time, we told him we wanted to pay off the debt. He just took it out of our stock instead of out of our cash in our pockets. I think the whole reason he didn't sell NFTs to pay off debt, even though it was super popular, is because there's not 4 million shareholders like he claimed. I don't see that being realistic anymore. But if you know what he's going to do, he's told you what he's going to do. He's going to convert and reverse split. If you know that and you stay in AMC and only AMC, at this point, in my opinion, you either don't know what you're doing, you're lazy, or you're stupid. Because you're going to get diluted, then you're going to get reverse split, then you're going to get diluted again, and then you're going to get shorted back down to like $10. So if he doesn't reverse split, he can't raise that cash. And I think he needs to raise another $1 billion to get us through this year. Because if there's one thing he does do wrong, he's always late. The iron's always cold. He fails to strike when it's hot. The credit card and the popcorn should have already been out on shelves. And we should have had AMC merchandise like 16 months ago. If he would have done that 16 months ago, that AMC merchandise would have sold like wildfire. So, in between that, like I said, if anybody has any other thoughts or comments, come up and say it. You're not going to get attacked. You're not going to get called a shill. And if you disagree with me completely, that's fine. This is a roundtable think tank. I'm just trying to confirm what I'm doing and then see if anybody else has anything to add to it so I can change my play. But as of now, I'm playing arbitrage. I'm going to hopefully make 100% on that. I'm going to sell all my shares after conversion. Then I'm going to buy really cheap call options out for like 3 months, like $3.50 calls. And then I'm hoping shorts cover under $3, like what we've seen lately and why Jim Cramer's so pissed off about Bed Bath & Beyond. Revlon went to $1.70, ran to $9. That's because shorts started covering and the market actually worked correctly for once. Bed Bath & Beyond hit $1.50, shorts started covering, it ran to $6, which leads me to believe that shorts are actually being forced to cover correctly, which puts value back into the stock instead of them just shorting it, naked shorting it to death, never covering, leaving it on the books at a penny until they come out of bankruptcy 10 years later and rename the ticker. So if we hit, say, under $3 on AMC, then that's a good time for these shorts to cover. they'll stay long the bonds. Aron will reverse split. He'll raise $1 billion. He'll buy a bunch of debt back. Then those same bondholders who sold off the debt and made money on the conversion are going to come back in and reshort it around, say it goes to $50. You come back in and reshort it because AMC is still burning cash and they're going to have to continue to raise capital until they go cash flow positive. So that's just my thoughts on it anyways.
So how will let's say conversion happens, right? How will that conversion at $1 a cost and AMC is at $4, right? That's $5 together. So how will that work? Like, how will that work with the conversion? Because we have a lot of APE shares, like almost 950 million some shares, and AMC has 516. So how will that cost basis will transfer?
Well, here's the deal. If you have 2 shares of AMC, right, and they're worth $3 a piece, and you have 1 share of APE converted in to AMC, you now have 3 shares of AMC. So you'd have to just divide it by the number of the converted. So if you go, so let's say this, you have 1 share of AMC and 1 share of APE. 1 share of AMC is $6. 1 share of APE is like $3, right? If it's converted, you're technically splitting it in half. It depends on how the market values it though after conversion, but it's just like a 1-to-1, 1-to-2 dilution. You're getting cut in half or you're getting cut in a third. Right now, I don't know exactly how many shares of APE are out there. I know there's the 516.8 million, and I think Aron has sold over 300 million shares of APE, maybe more. So let's just say 1 billion shares of APE are going to get converted into 518 million shares of AMC. That is a definite 100% dilution of AMC at more than is currently in the float. So you're looking at like a 1.5 division. So if we're at $5 now, I'm guessing like $5 divided by 2, you're looking at what? 250.
Yeah.
So if we go below $3 and I was short AMC and I was long the bond, I would be covering my shorts. I would be playing the upside as I covered because now they have all the APE converted to AMC, so they have all the legal shares they need. Then when we get to the top, I would sell. Aron reverse splits. He raises cash. I reshort as I sell some of my bonds back to Aron, some of my debt back to Aron at a bit of a discount because they helped us out. So, I mean, the bonds last time I checked were yielding 23 freaking %, man. Like it's he helped his boys out.
Yeah, this man there was no reason to do all this other than this man is helping his suit buddies, man, and taking away the money from the retail that saved his ass for the last 2 years. I had to buy APE, man. I had so much money invested, and you know I'm gonna make my money either way, one way or the other. At least I'm not gonna sit here, for the next 2 years waiting for a moas or squeeze. I'm just gonna do what's best for me, make whatever money I can, and this is just nonsense, buy and hodl shit for last 2 years. What did it get us? And people calling you shills because you are not kissing Adam's ass and asking him questions.
Don't forget, if you did buy and hodl, I have no regrets. We were fighting for market fairness. In my opinion, this community exposed a lot of things. Like we've changed the market for sure. There's things that are changing. After Aron said T0 is likely, a 1-to-1 security token is likely illegal, I wanted to get out of the play big time because that was such a huge thing. If he would have said nothing and just let Mark go on talking about T0 and said nothing, I don't think we would have went under $20 a share. But as soon as he said we're not doing a 1-to-1 security token, shorts got emboldened big time and came and crushed the stock from $40 down to like $5. So
$43. That's what we were, and he didn't have to say nothing, Spence. If he didn't want to do nothing, he should have said nothing, or he could have said, just an email or whatever. Like I don't know, man, all the checkmate, pounds, I'm a man of my words, crow soup. Like he even took Mark's crow soup thing and like, like, oh, we're going to serve the crows to this and that, and now he came with a new lollipop. I'm going to ride with you. Like, dude, you made $40-some million. You ain't riding with us. You are riding on us,
All his shares are at a cost average for him of nothing because he just gets awarded them. Now, I mean, he pays his time and effort in what he's doing at the company, but when he gets awarded millions of shares for performance units, like when he reverse splits and the stock price goes to 60, he's going to hit performance units. He's going to get a ton of shares. And right now, the VP is sitting there unloading shares like fucking crazy.
He just sold 80,000, 80-some thousand, Sean Goodman guy.
He's either leaving or he knows something is going to happen because he's selling APE. I seen him sell a bunch of APE.
Why he didn't sell AMC?
I didn't see if he did sell AMC. I didn't see that Form 4. I know he sold APE, but why would you be selling APE right now if you have an arbitrage play coming up? Unless they know he's leaving or the stock's about to just take a total dump. So.
Or he's going to not go with the conversion. I mean, can they back out of conversion?
Well, if you're a VP and you hold a bunch of AMC shares, you wouldn't want your AMC shares to get diluted. So who knows? Maybe this is the whole point that Aron is doing is he's setting shorts and longs against themselves because when they issued APE, if you were short AMC, you're now short APE. So they have to cover their APE to get out of that play so that they don't lose out on the arbitrage. Like Jim Chano said, I'm short AMC and long APE because the APE dilution eventually is going to translate into AMC. So
that's when I started buying, like thinking, I bought some APE before I swing it. And then, when it started going down, that was the first time. And there was a guy, I forgot his name. He was in one of the calls we did with Tara last time. And he said the same thing. Like he's short AMC and long APE. And, and I asked him a question. I said, why would you do that? He's like, well, when you can get it for pennies and, you covered it for a lot higher. I mean, it makes sense. That day is when I really started. I was like, man, these guys are not stupid, that's why I started buying a lot more APE, man. And I really hope conversion happens because I got a lot of APE and I have a lot of money invested in this thing. And this is my only one chance to really get out of this shit show and not worry about it because this is my last chance. I just want to, get all my money, whatever. I'm just go, man, because I don't want to wait for the reverse play. And those people do what's best for them. They can listen to you, me, or anybody, but at the end of the day, it's their money. Nobody's going to pay their bills. If they get left stuck, people been sitting here for 2 years listening to the same bullshit from all these people. I mean, look where we are.
Yeah, and, there's so many things that could happen coming forward because Aron laid this out on the table pretty directly. So you sit here and you brainstorm, and I've come up with my scenario on how I'm going to play it. But in the back of my head, I'm like, what kind of trap is he setting or what kind of trap is the market setting? Because you don't tell all the retail investors exactly what's going to happen and then have them get into the play on a certain side and not rip them before it happens. You know what I mean? Like AMC running right now may be some shorts covering to buy APE to create the arbitrage, right? If it was me, I would get out of my AMC short and I would go to the table to Citigroup and go, hey, sell me a bunch of APE at 60 cents or $1 as much as possible because as you're covering AMC goes up. And as you're buying more APE from Aron and Citi Global, you're diluting APE, meaning the price should start coming down a little bit. The spread is what's important. If the AMC price and the APE price, if that spread shrinks, then the arbitrage is going to lose value and I need to recalculate what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to buy calls after conversion because, like I said, when AMC comes down under $3, I think you're going to see a lot of shorts cover. It's going to run. Then hopefully the reverse split is a little bit after the conversion, but there's also a chance that the reverse split doesn't go through. The conversion could go through and the reverse split could fail if they're on separate line items for votes, which I think they have to be. So
see if Pedro can come. Pedro, if you got few minutes, man, come up because he's a smart man. There are not too many people I really listen to, and if he can come.
Well, and Pedro's thoughts on how corrupt this is 100% correct. And is it bad for everything? Yes, it's going to diffuse the squeeze. I'm at the point now where I don't think it can be stopped. I think the community is not as stable of a community as everybody thought when AMC and APE came out, because now it's set some people who don't want this calling APE shareholders shills, and then APE shareholders are calling AMC shareholders corporate. It's set the he checkmated the community in so many ways, not only just with diluting the crap out of us, but he created that fracture between APE and AMC where now people think they have to pick a side. So it's really interesting. He's trying to control the votes, right? And the problem is with the amount of APE that he's sold to certain individuals, he has the votes because a lot of retail who own AMC, and unfortunately, this is the truth with this conversion. If you own your AMC in an IRA, you are going to get crushed on your cost average because you're going to get the shit diluted out of you if you didn't hold your APE. If you're holding your APE, you should balance out fine. But if you sold all your APE that you got, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. So I think that's part of the problem with the votes too. People who are holding shares in like IRAs are not getting their proxies and they're not voting properly. That's a big problem with everything that happened with this play. And I think personally, Aron's going on a little revenge campaign against the shareholders when we voted down their compensation increase, and we voted down the AMC dilution, which at this point in hindsight was a really bad idea. We should have just let him dilute again at $30 and raise another $1 billion. So, but I mean, from what I'm seeing personally, slowly but surely, he's diffusing the squeeze. He's diluting retail. He's taking all the value out of the stock. He's setting it up so shareholders can shorts can cover at premium prices, at premium low prices. And then when they do cover, you're not going to see as big as a reaction, say up to like $100. You're going to see them covering under 3, and it's going to make the stock run hundreds of percent, but it's only going to see $10, $15 again, maybe more if we get a big FOMO. But the whole idea of 72 again is just crazy. So but again, if anybody else wants to come up and speak, just request if you have a question or anything. Don't be nervous or scared or whatever.
So you are telling me we can see 5,000 or 10,000 a share no more? Come on, man. You got to be realistic. Sure. I got a lot of money.
We ain't going to see 10,000 a share. We ain't going to see 5,000 a share unless the regulators come out and force the market to work properly by convicting the felons that are naked shorting and selling synthetics endlessly. You're not going to see it. And right now, all I've seen is the DTCC, FINRA, and the SEC support the market makers, brokers, and hedge funds that are engaging in this short and distort and synthetic and naked short selling. Wes Christian's now on the front page fighting it. He's got a couple companies behind him, which is really good. I love that. But that is such an uphill battle that we've faced for how many years now? If he makes headway, boy, this market's going to shake up big time, and you need to be paying attention to it. But like I said, right now, there's not a single regulator that's out to do the right thing in this market. What's up, Busy? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Spence. I just, as soon as he said we're gonna see 5,000 a share anymore, I was like, oh, I guess this is my chance. You brought up Wes Christian. By the way, thanks for having this space called Spence. We greatly appreciate it, man. Um, but yeah, so a little bit about me. I've been an AMC APE holder and AMC holder for over 2 years. I've been in the community of AMC for a while already, and yeah, I agree with you, Spence. At some point, you have to go away from the quote unquote ape mentality and start looking out for yourself. So, by that being said, I'm in a MMTLP, and we're about 64 to about 80, give or take 80,000 holders. We had an end date, meaning that uh, our dividends, right, like the ape, it wasn't supposed to be traded in the first place. It was done fraudulently, but we were supposed to go private into a private company. Well, the 8th, it was going to be the 9th and the 12th of December that these shorts were supposed to be closing out their positions. So it was going to be a battle between retail and the shorts having to cover. They would have to buy our shares at any price, right? Because there's an estimated, the float is actually 165. These shares were supposed to be direct registered through AST, but there's estimated amount of short position and naked shorts about 500 to 700 million shares. They were going to get wrecked. A little small company out of Texas, right? Oil company in Texas was about to wreck the system, so they pulled a U3 halt on us. But that being said, if we were about to wreck the system, how the hell do you think they're going to let AMC run to astronomical numbers with, let's just say, even if it's a million shareholders, right? There's no way. So
yeah, AMC wouldn't just wreck the system; it would wreck the global economy. It would.
And
The World Economic Forum would poop their pants, and Charles Schwab would just disappear.
So now FINRA and the broker dealers are stuck in a pickle because there's no way out. We have painted them in a corner so much that they have halted us to this day. I believe that if they were going to let this trade for the 2 days, MMTLP, it was going to cause a domino effect. And this is why they did it. When I say domino effect, I mean their margin requirements would have fell because all their everything that we always said, Spence and AMC, that would happen, it's happening in this play. They would have got margin called. Their margin maintenance would have fell under. Other tickers would have ran, and there would have been playing catch up. So it would have been a domino effect. Then you would have AMC, a GameStop run, and it would have collapsed the whole financial system. So this is why they have us halted, and now we have them pinned in the corner because there's no way out of this play other than to actually either buy our shares in the gray market, or open up trading and give us our 2 days back. Now what they're doing over here on our play is pretty much either they're gonna pull out of the bond to kick the can down the road, right? And basically it's gonna be like a loan that they'll withdraw from, or the broker dealers are gonna end up having to go to the DTCC because the DTC has insurance. But when fraud is committed, how is an insurance company gonna be able to cover fraud? So this is a eye opener for me. What I try to paint the picture of what's going on with MMTLP briefly, but it was an eye opener for me saying that, well, if they didn't let this small little Texas company was about to wreck the financial system, how fragile is our financial system that they would let something like AMC and APE hit astronomical numbers? And I don't believe that that's going to be the case.
The ape thesis is correct. The apes were right. That's not something I'm arguing. The fight against corruption is something that needs to stay true, but some of our paragons in this battle against it switched to selling t-shirts and GoFundMe's and making money on the side, and it got corrupted really quick, which is, what I said in the beginning. I said even BLM, man, every major movement in history, the people who are running it, the people who take control of it, end up selling out. I mean, the BLM leaders made millions and ended up buying $1 million homes and all kinds of stuff. And you've seen a lot of the paragons in the AMC movement and the GME movement and the APE movement make their money and then move on and leave, or they think they're going to set up some kind of new exchange or something. That's where I started losing faith. But like you said, the thesis is correct. The market makers, brokers, and these hedge funds have engaged in selling of securities in the trillions of dollars that nobody owns. They don't own them. They don't exist. They have sold trillions of dollars of securities over the past 20 years that they can't pay back. They can't buy. It's just debt on books. And I think what they're trying to do was they're trying to wrap it up in the crypto market. We saw so much value lost out of the crypto market and so much value lost out of the US stock market in this, what I like to call a manufactured market crash, which they wanted to call a soft landing, which it kind of was. It was a slow bleed off down. And I think we still have more downside, a slow bleed off that the regulators orchestrated and helped these hedge funds and these market makers and brokers start to unwind their short positions. So it's all about who's going to be left holding the bag. And right now, it's retail. Retail 401ks are in the dirt, IRAs are in the dirt, individual stockholders are in the dirt. I mean, the bulls got crushed. And if you're in an IRA, you're bullish. You don't know it, but you're bullish because all you're doing is investing long, while the people running your investment plan are making transaction value off of you. Just like, think of this, BlackRock, a huge investment firm, which I think is in deep shit right now. They run people's retirement plans and they're out there shorting the stocks that they're buying to put in these people retirement plans. It's absolutely criminal. So, you know, with what everything you just said, I hope Wes gets to the bottom of this. I hope Share Intel rips them up. I hope all these new CEOs that are teaming up with Wes and Share Intel take it right to the front lines, man. And that's my challenge to Aron. If you're so unsure if there's naked shorts or synthetics in the company, then why do you continuously turn down Share Intel? Why do you turn down T0? Any mechanism that will come out and expose the synthetics and give you evidence that you can use in court against the people creating the synthetics, Aron keeps turning it down and he keeps denying it. You know, we had a big letter push. He must have got close to 1,000 letters saying, why aren't you using Share Intel? Which Wes Christian and them, they said they would cover that $37,000 upfront cost to get the Share Intel technology into AMC. That could be paid back after they found something, which leaves me to believe that Aron is part of the game. He is playing at the same table that all these hedge funds and all these bankers are playing at. That's robbing us. And if he doesn't play ball, they're going to crush him. So I don't blame him for doing what he's doing. Is it wrong? And is it probably some illegal shit going on? Yeah. But if you were in Aron's shoes and all your friends were these super powerful elite banker, businessmen, hedge fund managers, and they started threatening to take you out, I would assume you would play ball too. So I hope we hear more from Wes. I think it's GNS is the recent one I saw where the CEO is coming out and working with Share Intel and Wes. I really hope to see some news about that soon. But make no mistake, if they do expose this and we get somebody in that's willing to prosecute and we get an SEC manager in that's willing to do the right thing, this is going to shake up the market like nobody's ever seen. So, Pedro, what up?
Pedro, you still here?
Well, he's up. I see him up here, but let's just give him a minute and see if he.
He's got Rocky Balboa's pictures.
Well, while we're waiting for Pedro, I'll add to that, Spence. Why did Aron, if he was so confident, or he is quote unquote an ape, why did he hire Wes Christian to do an investigation and actually put out the investigation out there for us? He never did none of that. And we have a former CEO over here at MMTLP who stepped down out of his position to actually be open. The fraud here is so blatant, Spence, that you had two market makers come together and actually create the preferred equity unit tradable. Fraud, and they submitted it to FINRA, the OTC, without the CEO's consent.
Oh yeah,
and now FINRA is stuck in a pickle because the fraud is so blatant, and we had them painted in the corner that there's no more naked shorting, there's no more trading. They have to cover this position, and all of a sudden now they want to halt us to try to figure out what the hell or how they're going to get out of this position. So if you have a CEO that who really cares, like John Berta did, why didn't Aron at least hire, like you said, share intel, or hire Wes Christian to do an investigation and show us apes? Here you go. There, I don't see no evidence of any naked shorting. Why? Because I hired intel, share intel. I hired Wes Christian, and here you go. But then he brings us ape, and supposedly, well, this is gonna be the checkmate. This is gonna be the share count. We still have not seen that. Where is that?
And it would have been for free too. I mean, we would have covered the cost, 37,000 between all the apes online. That'd have been like, with 1,000 apes, that would have been nothing. Aron didn't do it, and he didn't do anything with T0, and he denied T0, and he denied share intel, specifically because he knows that he's implicated in the game that's being played. I mean, he's already been sued once for mismanaging the stock back in 2016, which they had to settle and pay out $17 million.
And if you're a stockholder and you speak in regards of these concerns, all of a sudden you are the shill, or you're bashing the stock. No, I have my money into this. I want to know why you haven't done a share count. We've been buying this stock for over, I don't know how many years. Do something about it. But the simple fact that he duped us into, ape is going to be the share count. Here we go. He's on our side. He still hasn't provided us with any evidence for us, like not out of his mouth. Like, I haven't seen any naked short, or I haven't seen this. Come out and put paperwork out there. Show us as holders, right? As an owner of the company, listen, I heard your cries. Here you go. Here's the evidence. You were correct, or here's the evidence. You're not correct. And that's all we ask from him. But to this day, very moment, he has not done that. Now, does he have some big plan up his sleeve? I'm sorry, Spence. I'm not. I'm done. I'm not gonna continue waiting. I'm on your side.
You can't invest on a hope.
Opium is done. Especially Spencer. What I've seen here with MMTLP, the amount of fraud and criminality, we're talking about the same freaking people that work at FINRA are the same people we're fighting. It's like the fox is guarding the hen house. This is unfreaking believable what's happening, and that just made me realize, hell no, I'm gonna start trading for my benefit now.
Yep, you got Citadel, who has board members on the DTCC. You have SEC agents that are lawyers for funds like BlackRock. You have the top Secret Service senior agent leave the White House under the Biden administration and go directly into working for Citadel. You have FTX, which everybody was involved in FTX. Who wasn't involved with FTX? The biggest financial disaster in history is just starting to be unwound, but it's slowly losing steam where people are just going to walk away. And we just, you had the Bernie Madoff documentary came out, and now everybody, like people from Fox Business, are like, oh my God, the Bernie Madoff documentary, who would have known that it was that bad? We've been telling everybody it's this bad for a long time. I hate to say it, the only way this is going to end is with a mass protest and a physical presence, which, it's funny, all the big AMC influencers that were out there for so long kept telling everybody, don't go out and protest. Don't gather in a physical group, because there's going to be a bad actor, and it's gonna make us look really bad, and things bad will happen. But the only way this is going to change is with a physical presence. And I hate to say, until Congress makes the Justice Department intertwined with the regulators, and there's actual judicial backstops that include prison time and a lot of other things for what's happening in the market, nothing's going to happen, because all they do is they hire these lawyers. They make billions and billions of dollars off of cheating. Then they hire lawyers to find loopholes to pay out $10 million to make it go away. So until somebody comes in and says, this is how the markets are going to work, it is set in stone, this is backed up by judicial law that can be prosecuted by any of these people at a Supreme Court level, nothing's going to happen. They're just going to keep finding more loopholes. And right now, that's what's happening. The apes were right. We should have squeezed like crazy. We should have been paid out trillions of dollars into retail, but they're just waiving margin requirements. They're waiving collateral. The FINRA on January 27th with the Robinhood thing, they waived collateral and margin requirements for the brokerages and a bunch of hedge funds. That's why we didn't squeeze. We had a little bit of run when people panicked and covered a little bit, but that was it. And then they killed the stock. Right now, there's probably a giant short book out there still just oozing corruption. It's probably a short book like nobody's ever seen in the history of the world, but they're going to find a way to hide it. They're going to find a way to unwind it. They're going to find a way to make it disappear in the form of inflation, in the form of conversions, dilution. They'll just keep diluting retail down to nothing. And slowly but surely, that short book will value up and they'll unwind it. And then we'll have to wait to go back to a bull market for years. But retail has lost trillions of dollars in the stock market this past 2 years, unless you play volatility, which I'm not telling anybody what to do. But if you're not getting ready to play the volatility on this conversion and you're just holding AMC, you're going to get diluted. You're going to get diluted like crazy. So it's pretty wild, man, but busy what you guys are doing with it's MMTLP, right?
Yes.
Okay. What you guys are doing with that is great.
And
because they got caught. There's physical evidence in getting caught red-handed with that one.
And that was my whole purpose in the very beginning is bringing the other communities to understand, because there was this said individual that was saying, oh, it's a scam, it's a scam, it's a scam. But at some point, when do you humble yourself enough down to try to come together and say, wait a second, the two market makers did what? They committed fraud and submitted this fraudulent information to FINRA without the CEO's consent. So from the very beginning, as you know, you came in, you spoke, and I had many others like Al come in. I had Peter Hahn come in, and we raised awareness that no, this is not only a situation on one ticker. This is happening market wide, and nobody is going to be able to cover these trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. I mean, we're talking about a systematic collapse here if they just would let one ticker run. And we all know that there's some tickers that run like HKAD. They do that for liquidity. We know that crypto runs, that's liquidity. But look what happened to FTX. They were trying to do the same thing in FTX, what they're doing in the market, creating fake Bitcoin. Well, that collapsed, right? And what did they do? They were just washed in bankruptcy. Why? Because it's not regulated how we're supposed to be regulated, correct? So it just goes to a humongous Ponzi scheme here that us retail as apes threw a monkey wrench at the system, and now they're stuck saying like, "Holy shit! At no point we cannot let this thing run just like GameStop did." At some point there was a roundtable meeting and say this is never gonna ever happen again, no matter what. And I think they're getting the green light to naked short the whole fucking system, because if they let it run, then it'll definitely collapse the whole entire system. Look at this little company. This little company was about to wreck the fucking system. I mean, Spence, I'm talking about this. I understand that everybody wants to go out and protest, but what did Occupy Wall Street do? You had these fuckers up in the balconies drinking champagne, laughing. No, we have to hit them in their pockets, because those politicians are getting big fat envelopes. And once those envelopes stop coming in, trust me, that's when they come and step down and like, hey, what's going on? So I hope that MMTLP does this for the whole entire community, because when everything's said and done, they're painting in the corner, and we're gonna hit them in their pockets. A lot of people, if they would have let this thing trade those 2 days where it was closed position only, a lot of people may have got out at $20. They did this before Christmas. A lot of people's savings were in this play, and they halted it. So
Well,
now a lot of people have taken
and
to offense, and they're going to say, no, we're not going to let you off the hook that easy. We want X amount for this now. And I hope.
and that's just it. That's what I'm saying, man. The buy and hodl method doesn't work anymore. They've changed the market to fight back against it, right? So retail needs to learn as a whole how to start playing the volatility and taking profits out of the market. Because when you take profit out of the market, you take that profit and you put it in your bank account. Some at the end of the day, somebody wins and loses. And if you're long on a stock and you're taking profits out of it and the shorts are starting to get pinched a little bit, then that's the thing. I think retail needs to enrich themselves first. And we're all much smarter than we were 2 years ago. That's the great thing about it. This has been a educational MOAS. But when the retail investment community, not just apes, I'm talking across retail, start taking the profits out of the market, then you're going to cause liquidity issues, right? Then the market makers and the brokers are going to go, what the hell, man? These guys are taking profits like crazy. They're making money on these swings. What do we do now? Then they have to play the game. They have to come to the table where it's a more evenly based game. I would love if one of these stocks just took off and ripped like HKD did, which obviously that was a rigged game. They created HKD and they filed for its ticker and its basis all in the Cayman Islands. When they created the 14032 executive order that limited them hedge funds and brokers and everybody from using liquidity from Chinese assets, they said, okay, we'll make a shell company called HKD. We'll squeeze it. Then we'll just sell, take profits, and put it back in our American accounts or our Cayman accounts. That's what's going on with HKD. Now, these other stocks, MMTLP, AMC, GME, if any of them do start to take off again, yeah, it could cause a squeeze. But the problem is right now, the current government, the regulators, the lawyers, everybody's playing on the same court, man. They've all got their hand in the cookie jar. They're going to waive collateral requirements. They're going to waive margin. They're going to do shady shit. And they'll pay their $5 million fine and make $1 billion. So, the whole point with this call with AMC and APE, I'm telling people, stop being a sucker to the system. Aron, if anything, knows that they're not going to let this thing squeeze. So what he did by issuing APE and by creating this arbitrage event is give you the opportunity to play the volatility, make some money. But if you're going to just sit there and hold AMC, he's going to dilute you and use your money to pay off debt. And that's going to help his bondholders out. So he's playing both sides of the fence. But at least he gave us an opportunity to change the play up a little bit, which was APE. Now, do I wish he wouldn't have done it at all? Yes, I think it was the wrong way to do it. I think he should have used a T0 security token. He should have exposed the shorts, scared a bunch of them into covering. The stock ran over 100. People could have took profit. Then he could have raised capital, and then he could have converted the T0 token back into common shares of stock like Overstock did. Overstock did exactly what they were supposed to do. But now, like I said, the regulators and market makers and all the judicial people and the Congress people, I mean, they've changed the rules once again. And that's what they're going to keep doing as we're making progress. They're going to keep changing the rules. Nancy Pelosi just sold tens of millions worth of stock maybe a month ago. She knows something's coming up. They would not sell stock at a loss unless they knew something was coming up. Me personally, I think there's a big market downside coming. I think they soft landed us and they gave us this little fake bull pump in a bear market. And we're going to see more downside on the SPY, which is why I'm playing a little more bearish right now. But like I said, with AMC and the arbitrage, I'm going to buy a bunch of APE. If APE comes back down below like $1.40, $1.30, I'm going to buy a shit ton of it. I'm going to make 100% on the arbitrage. Then I'm going to buy calls after AMC dips below, say, $3 and shorts start covering. My calls will run into the money. Adam Aron will reverse split. The stock will be, say, at like 30, $40. He's going to go, yeah, we're going to dilute again. We're going to raise more capital. And I'm going to buy puts and play the downside. And then I'm probably going to be out of the play. So if you're not playing the volatility at this point, knowing that the market and Aron are out to dilute you and devalue your investment, good luck to you. I hope you stay strong with the company. Maybe in 2 to 3 years, AMC goes back to a pre-reverse split $40 and you make your money back, and I hope you do. But in the meantime, the buy and hodl thesis is completely destroyed, because there's no point in buying and hodling if they can just create as many stocks as they want. They might dig the hole deeper, but they're just creating stocks out of thin air and diluting these companies down to 40 cents. All you're doing is holding a bag. That's it. So, every time we did a DRS push, every single time that we did a DRS push, we had at least a 30% run every single time. But then you had YouTubers like Boss Blunts and other people like Cat and all these big AMC influencers say that I'm a shill and I'm a hedge fund guy for pushing direct registration. When you got Dave Lauer, you got Suzanne Trimbath, you got Share Intel, you got all these people coming out saying DRS actually works. In the last run we had, Aron announced DRS. The CEO himself said DRS is a way to where your shares won't be shorted. We went from $5 to $9.30 in a matter of 30 days. So it's crazy that the ape community out there is so supportive of Aron. But then when he says something that I've been preaching for a year and it's correct, they deny it. And if the entire investment community would have went out and DRS their shares and locked up the float, the game would have been over already a million times. So
you are 100% correct about DRSing, and I'll tell you this: what's going on over here? We're using our transfer agent AST, and the bus is full. So this is why they're stuck in a pickle. They created all of these synthetic shares, and the bus is full. And because there's no more naked shorting, there's no other shenanigans that they could play. They are really stuck in a pickle, not knowing what to do, and they have to buy these shares off of us at whatever price to cover those positions, Spencer. So you're 100% correct about DRSing.
yeah, every time we've done a DRS push, the stock ran. Me and Froggy did one months ago, and the stock ran to $10. Then it went back down to 5 because we stopped talking about it. People called us shills. We started talking about it again when Aron announced it. The stock ran to $9. When you DRS a share that's been lent out to a short seller, you're forcing them to cover, because your broker has to recall that share to send it over to the transfer agent. Now, if you guys in MMTLP, I would love to see the DRS numbers on that. If the float is direct registered, the entire float, that is a share count. That is a reconciled share count, because if there's shares out there trading in volume that are past the locked up float, that's proof of synthetic shares, like directly. So,
and that is the reason why Wes Christian is now involved.
yep. And that's awesome. Wes probably sees now with the DRS, if that's what's going on, he goes, that's actual verifiable evidence I can use in court. And I hope he takes it to the bank with these guys. And I'm going to have to take another look at MMTLP and see what's going on. What's actively going on with it right now? Is it still locked up? Is it tradable right now?
It's still locked up. We're still in limbo, but I'm going to connect you with Curtis, and I'm going to have him come into one of your spaces, and he could run you down. And I mean, briefly, what I told you it's just massive of what Curtis could share with you. Your jaw would drop. But I'll leave you with this, or what you were saying there. Everybody's in bed with each other, including the regulators. So one of our market makers, the one that created this ticker with fraudulent, allegedly with fraudulent documentation, he's a FINRA board member. And let me read you his bio, and then I'll drop off because I really want to hear from Pedro. So in his bio, he says, he's the market maker for GTS, okay? And he's on the board, and he says, quote, I am a member of FINRA Market Surveillance Advisory Group, whose goal is to assist FINRA in the construction of advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning system to eradicate nefarious activity in our markets. Go fucking figure, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just pretty disgusting that the same people that are in the FINRA board that's supposed to be regulators are actually market makers. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Citadel has people on the board of the DTCC. They've got people at FINRA. It's not just Citadel either. And that's one thing I want to tell everybody. Citadel, yeah, they're terrible. They're absolutely, Ken Griffin's probably doing illegal shit like crazy, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we had people try to focus us, laser point focus us on Citadel the entire time, and Ken Griffin in a personal dispute instead of going after the regulators for the past 2 years. We should have been up the SEC and FINRA's asses, telling them, forcing them to make change instead of worrying about what Ken Griffin is doing. Because all that did was give Ken Griffin bad publicity, which there's no such thing, right? So it's just crazy that how unrealistic some of the big influencers in the movement push people to focus on. We should have all been up Congress's ass for the past 2 years, directly in there, walking into the building, working 30, 40 of us in different states, whoever your senator is, in their office, 30, 40 deep, going, hey, the market's fraudulent. They're robbing people's 401ks. You need to make change in the House, in the Senate, blah, blah, blah. But instead, we were out in the street ranting about Ken Griffin. Like, he's not a good guy, but he's not the one who makes the rules. He's just playing the game how he knows how to play it and make money, right? The people that we need to get a hold of is Congress, and we need to force them to either empower or fix the SEC and maybe incorporate the DOJ into the SEC so they actually have the means and power to do what they're supposed to do. Because right now the SEC is a joke, man. I mean, they're just an agency. It's basically the SEC is the curtain to hide the man behind the curtain. That's all it is. So. But yeah, Pedro, are you up, man? Can you talk, or what's going on?
How's it going, Spence?
Yo.
Yeah. You know, I was listening. I was doing some other work. Yeah, I mean, you could talk all night about all the other stuff that you've kind of gotten into in terms of, you know, the overall corruption, and anybody who knows me, you know, knows my opinion about it all, and I, you know, talk for days on it. As it relates to APE and AMC here, I think most people know my opinion about it, about Aron. In terms of, there's no question that he's in bed with the shorts. There's no question, in my opinion, that he's orchestrating a very diabolical, ingenious plan to bail out an uncoverable short position in AMC. He's already shattered the company. People don't understand. When we started out here, before APE was split off, we had how many shares outstanding? 516 million, right? Okay, so what do we have now? 1.4 billion. And he's only raised less than $300 million for that dilution. So when APE comes over, and I'm on the other side of Spence on here, I'm absolutely think conversion and whatever is the worst thing that could possibly happen. And the best thing that could possibly happen is for both these to get shot down, because the the capital raising should stay on the APE side. And I can lay out a scenario for that or why he should do that. But he's already taken the dilution from 516 to 1.4 billion. He said it in the video. And that's what it is now, because if what he sold and then what's going to come back over, you also have to remember to make sure you look at APE on an outstanding share adjusted basis. So it's not, the arbitrage is not really 1-to-1. It's 1.875 here, right? Because APE has basically twice as many shares as AMC. So it's the spread will collapse some, but it's not as wide as you think. So there's already 1.4 billion shares outstanding. In exchange for that, he's raised a measly less than $300 million. So it's so dirty. He didn't even ask for any retail involvement at all, at any level. He actually pushed it aside. He made sure the ATM was restrictive in terms of what the company could do. They could only sell to an accredited institutional fund. He couldn't even, most people don't even understand. If APE had gone to like $50 on some spike, The company was in no ability to actually call up Citigroup and say, start hitting bids. They can't do it. They have to literally wait for an accredited institution to come bid them, which in and of itself defeats the whole purpose of the ATM, which I'm convinced now that was done by design to make sure that he couldn't sell directly to the AMC community. But it's beyond the pale. Like, he literally walked past money that people wanted to give him to help the company to make sure that he could give shares to the wrong people. And so now you have 516 million shares has turned into 1.4 billion shares. And so he's in essence added, almost a billion shares, okay, in exchange for less than $300 million. Let me phrase it a different way. Had he started at, let's say, $22, the AMC was, I think, right around, well, it was $20 when it split. But when they first started talking about it, it was around $25 when it was announced. If they had at $25, he come out and said, look, we need to raise money, folks, and I need approval to sell 100 million shares. And he got approval, right? He had to vote, had approval. He would have had to, so he, starting at $20, let's say, by the time he got the vote through and ever the stock is 20, he would have had to sell all 100 million shares below below a dollar, starting at 20, to have the same, to raise the same amount of money for the dilution. Right? I think most people would understand that if you literally just put it in the slicer, 10% of volume every day, no matter what, starting at $20, with all the options everyone's buying calls and getting in the way, he could have easily sold 100 million shares above, I'm going to say above 10, frankly. Okay. And what happens then is he would have, let's say he gets out at $12. That means he sells 550 million shares above 12, and he sells 50 million shares below 12. So to get an average of 12, that's $1.2 billion. We would have had $1.2 billion in cash and only 618 million shares of outstanding, right? Or 616. And we'd be on our way. He didn't want to do that, nor could he do that, because that would have absolutely buried the shorts, buried them. They'd be dead. Stock would have gone ballistic, and then they would have been able to raise again higher, and it would be over for them. Absolutely over. He didn't want to do that. Okay. Instead, he wants to do this. He wants to now he's abused the one side of the ledger. Now he not only he's already diluted that side. Now he actually wants to combine the two, then dilute you again. And so from how it plays out, if the assumption is that the conversion goes through and the reverse split goes through, let's just say for discussion's purposes that he has the votes, and you can make a pretty good argument that he does have the votes. I can make a little bit of an argument. I'm not going to weigh against it, because I'm going to lean that way. But I could also make a case that they don't necessarily have the votes, or they're not as confident as you think. And there's also risks with having a vote, because it can actually backfire on them and expose a massive synthetic problem. If people actually come out and turn out to vote, now all of a sudden they're going to have a problem, because all these 6 share counts that they did are going to look pretty stupid when this massive overvoting comes in. So that's a different problematic thing that can come up down the line. But assumption that the conversion goes through, gets voted yes, and the reverse split gets voted yes, I'm generally in agreement with Spence in that you'll have the APE will be the play there. A better play. They'll both start to rise on a positive vote, because then the AMC shorts, who are still in an uncoverable short situation in AMC side, the company cannot issue any more AMC shares, and they are short more than the float. They got a problem over on the AMC side. They want to be able to turn APE into AMC. Once you get the positive yes that it will happen, shorts and AMC are going to use APE as a vehicle to cover their AMC. I did a tweet talking about if apes are apples and AMCs are pineapples. Right now, only an apple can cover an apple, and only a pineapple can cover a pineapple. Aron wants to make it so that an apple can cover a pineapple. I would expect positive upward movement in both of them on a yes vote up into the conversion and through the conversion, because at that point, everyone's going to want it higher. Even the shorts will want it up into the reverse split because they're going to make more on the backside when they short the hell out of it. And Aron goes on another walkabout and ignores it. So there'll be a window there. Then people have to realize that there's 4 billion shares of capacity in the APE shell. This is why they did this, to get that extra capacity on the 10 for 1 reverse, or 1 for 10 reverse. That goes from 4 billion to 400 million. So when he comes across, he's going to have 400 million of excess capacity in order to sell AMC shares. The short, let's just say hypothetically speaking, it's 750 million shares. Let's say there was 1.5 billion of AMC coming in. They split it, so there's 750 million short of each. If it works out that way, let's just be conservative and say it's 750 million shares of AMC short. That becomes 75 million on a reverse split. So now, let's say the stock goes out at hypothetical $10. I think you could have a pretty good move into that. The combined entity goes out at $10. Reverse split, it's $100. Aron goes on a walkabout like he did with APE. Remember, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, I sell a little bit at 2, and then I really dump my load at under $1, right? Meanwhile, he was glad handing and taking selfies and pissing on down everyone's back and telling them it's raining while he was designed. That was designed. It was designed to look away while the stock got crushed. I always use the analogy that he's the husband who hires a hitman to kill his wife. He makes sure that he's out of town at a karaoke bar on TV with friends while it happens. And so I suspect the same thing will happen on the backside of the reverse split. Now the stock's 100. It gets worked down to $50. Now all of a sudden he says some institution has come to us and they paid us $50 for 100 million shares. We raised $5 billion. We are now debt free. Well, that's the short covering back into that because he has the shares to give them. Now all of a sudden the company is recapitalized. The company has $5 billion in cash, pays off their debt. They now are generating solid free cash flow. The shorts are covered, and that's what I talk about. The third mouse getting the cheese will be right there. But the problem is retail will have 10% of the shares they used to have. And then I could totally see the stock going from 50 to 150, but that's really only 5 going to 15. But he will have sold them in essence 1 billion shares at $5. But the company's recapitalized, and then there's your third mouse getting the cheese because it's not a shortable company at that point because they have no debt and they've got strong free cash flow. Then you're going to see all this movement on the credit card, and you'll see all this movement on popcorn, and you'll see every little positive thing will be announced. IR will be super responsive.
And the MSM, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're going to go use the media the other way. They'll make some acquisitions. They can go on a growth side. So that's the scenario I see if the conversion and reverse split go through. The no retail should want that at all, right? The only hope here, and I've used the example that he turned our house into a duplex and turned the one side into a college rental house, and the other house is still in really good shape and looks good. Well, if you might as well keep it the fundraising you don't fix up the college rental. The kids don't care. You just rent the shit out of it until you pay down your mortgage, keep refining down, and you get the thing paid off. And then when you're ready to move back in, you fix it up and you go from there. You keep the fundraising side on the capital on the APE would probably dip on that. I don't think it would be nearly as material as you think. And in fact, if everyone just sat still, what would happen is the AMC shorts would flinch and start coming in to buy APE because there's going to be liquidity there from a capital raise, and they'll be able to buy that as a quote unquote like security because it is an equal to AMC. But that'll help them in one way, but it doesn't help them in the liability of carrying a massive short, right? Even if let's say that happens, doesn't get voted through, and Aron comes out and says, we're going to do a 1 for 10 on APE. So APE's going to turn into 14. We're going to raise. We have capacity. I need more shares to sell. We need this as a fundraising vehicle. AMC is going to stay still. Well, even if APE and AMC sit still for a year, the shorts are dead because you got a sticky, tight, big cost to borrow. Even if it sits still, okay, when you're short, and I've been there, okay, I've been there with a hedge fund, being short, trying to manage a short position. You know that if you borrow shares, and whoever, at least in the old days, when you borrowed shares, if whomever you borrowed those shares from decides to sell, you got a call from your prime broker saying you just lost your borrow. They sold their shares. We need them back. And then you had to go find another new borrow. There's a lot of risks in managing and maintaining a short. And even if the stock stays still, and even if we discount the cost to borrow to 36% a year, down from 100 and change of what it is now,
which it's 113%, I think, okay, right now.
Let's discount that back to 24%, so 2% a month. That kills them because in 1 year they've lost 24% of their money, okay, just sitting still, and they run the risk of losing their borrow, having the borrow called in, being gamma squeezed with options. You could have a situation where AMC goes absolutely fucking bonkers. This could happen before the vote at any moment. If something happens behind the curtain, and I've said this on multiple calls, that you want to see this spread breaking with AMC rising a lot, with APE not moving much at all. Just like we saw last week, we had an 18% rise in AMC and a 1% rise in APE. That was actually more bullish than if that was reversed. If it was reversed, I would have told you that that's telling you that this convert and reverse split's coming and it's getting through. The other way around is there's a lot of risk here with all this tokenization stuff, and people are talking to the
guys,
trying to cut deals, to not go to
like
prison.
I appreciate
all it's going to take is somebody to say, chat. Hey, these things were tokenized, and it's a big lie that they were securitized. I keep pointing back to SBF's interview with Unusual Whales the night before he got arrested. He was asked a direct question, and I've actually found the exact minute on the thing, and I'm going to make a clip of it so I can narrow it down to tweet it. This is the head of FTX is the FTX on their website claims that these are one for one backed securitized tokens, stock tokens. Okay, well, here's the CEO and founder, I guess, of FTX being asked a direct question: are they backed one for one? And you can hear in his voice that he knows he's in legal jeopardy right in that moment. And because he goes, well, I believe they were, because he has to say that because FTX was flat out in print saying they were. All right. That's securities fraud, by the way. If they said that they were backed one for one and they knew that they weren't, that level of fraud is off the charts. So you could hear in SBF's voice, he goes, I believe they were. But then he also knew that he had to say, well, I'll get back to you. I'm not totally sure, because he knows they weren't.
Based on what they did do, that they did admit to already, selling fake Bitcoin, we can just assume that they're not back one to one. I mean, the horse bets on,
I've been saying that, look, FTX, they just figured out how to create the fake IOUs like they've been doing in equities for 15 years, right? I mean, there was no surprise to me. I'm like, it just took them a while to figure out how to counterfeit and sell an IOU for a crypto. But if it's going back to and staying on AMC here, so AMC, the short in AMC has not been helped. Nothing's changed. It is undiluted. It is virgin powder. It has not been touched because they haven't issued any more shares. They can't issue any more shares. The company's out of ammunition, and If it goes, there's nothing Aron will be able to do. If AMC gets going, there will be nothing this CEO can do to help his buddies. And that's why everybody should be like, no. Keep AMC the same.
Well,
I can actually see AMC going to $50 fucking.
Here's the only thing I'll say that he could do to screw everybody once again is he's got 4 billion apes sitting on the back burner. He could come out and dilute. He could come out and issue another special dividend in a heartbeat.
No, but that will not help somebody. Trust me, it won't help anybody short AMC. But no, he's already sold all the AMC ape that he can. He has to get approval. He has 4 billion of capacity, but he not approved her for any more than 4.25, which he's sold. Right? He's told us that he's sold them all because in that interview in the theater, he said there's going to be 1.4, roughly 1.4 going into the reverse split. Just do the math. He's said that he's sold 257 and he issued 100 on a debt for equity exchange. So there's 357, and fine, he sold another 20 or 50 million to get himself to 4.25. So he would have to come back and say, I need more ape to sell. He cannot come out and say the only reason why they're doing this conversion to go over is because of the excess capacity that ape has in its shell. Okay, from years and years ago, it was that amount that they could do. So he wants to pull that over into AMC to give himself AMC shares to sell, to recapitalize the company, and to bail the shorts out. If AMC goes around, if SBF comes out tomorrow and says, I didn't do it, these guys came to me and made me do it, they're not securitized, they're not 1-for-1, and all these prime brokers are on the hook and all this other shit, and all hell breaks loose, right? That's a dream scenario. Aron cannot help his friends in AMC at all, right now. He would have to ask for approval and a vote to increase the authorized shares in AMC. So what I'm advocating for is you reverse split it 1-for-5 on the ape side. You keep it over there. Even if he did a 1-for-5 instead of a 1-for-10, let's say the stock was $1.50, and he actually communicated with the AMC retail community and asked their help and said, post reverse split, the company needs to sell 500 million ape shares at $5. And he actually confirmed in a text message that I saw less than a month ago that if each retail ape spent $1,500, all their debt would be gone. So that implies 3 million retail investors still. And that's inside of a month when I saw that. So if he came out and said, we need to sell 500 million ape on after 1-for-5 reverse split at $5, that would raise $2.5 billion. That would come out to 167 shares each for each ape. And that wouldn't get rid of all their debt, but it would get them basically, most of the way, more than halfway there, which for these purposes, you would then have 688 million shares of ape. You would still have 516 million shares of virginal, untouched AMC. And if you were truly a CEO that wants to string the shorts out, you then say, no, we're going to not convert for a while and let them choke on it. Then guess what happens? It rips. And at first you're like, well, how could they move 500 million shares at 5? Well, if the AMC community really gets going, that's nothing, right? 167 shares. But what'll happen is when the AMC shorts realize that they're not going to be able to turn apples into pineapples, they're going to come in and buy the shares from them because they need at least a like security as a level of protection to keep their borrow on the AMC side until some type of conversion down the line, or they can unwind on an arbitrage and a reverse arbitrage basis, which would be, getting long ape and being short AMC, and they would cover some AMC and then they would sell some ape, and they would gradually do their own unwind. But it would be 400 million shares less of dilution, and the AMC side wouldn't be diluted at all, and it would actually be a quarter of dilution, because people forget that he's already diluted the ape side by roughly 85%. Now he wants to merge the two and then dilute you again. on a massive level, because once he reverse splits, there's going to be 140 million shares outstanding, and he's going to have to dump at least another 100 or 200 million shares. So there, on that dilution, you're talking about another 85% of dilution. So he wants to dilute one side and then merge it with the other side of the house, and then trash that side of the house. And so, from a where it can go in the movement, if this blows apart, AMC will go bonkers, in my opinion. AMC goes up. APE would probably dip, but I don't know how much more you can dip from here, because he won't be able to just go, I'm bankrupt, I'm filing for bankruptcy, because he has a funding vehicle right in front of him. And if he tried to just dunk it right into bankruptcy, you want to talk about getting sued? He would get sued, because he has plenty of options using APE to raise. The mere fact that he hasn't even talked about why aren't they just continuing to raise with APE is the tell. They want to convert it to bail out the shorts on the AMC side. But
yeah, because he could just do a vote and say, let's do another 400 million APE and do another at the market offering and raise more cash.
That's what he should do. And it's already in place. You don't need to go through this whole, all you need to do is this. I'll phrase it another way. Why didn't he just start at when the stock was $25 fucking before APE spin out? Why didn't he, if he knew he was going to have to go through the whole process of a proxy and whatever, it was done by design, because
he brought it up and he said, we're not doing it because retail didn't want him to dilute more. But I don't buy that. I think he didn't want to raise more capital on AMC because they had this plan in the works.
Way back when, he's admitted that he unilaterally pulled the vote, which which is so bad, right? He could have. Why would any CEO? It's a reasonable expectation that at that time they knew the financial health of the company was in terrible shape. And why would any CEO turn down the flexibility just because he said yes to be able to increase the authorized shares? It wasn't a mandate that he must sell them. All it was a proxy to increase the authorized shares of AMC when the stock was 45. He unilaterally turned it down. I'm not telling you that. You can go watch the interview. He almost brags about it. I made the unilateral decision to pull the vote. We had the votes. I chose to pull it. Wait a minute. You're telling me that you weren't having conversations with your board and your CFO about the dire cash burn that was going on, and how the recovery in the movie business wasn't going to be enough to offset your debt covenants? Come on. And then he walks out and says, you know what? Nah, I don't want that flexibility in case I need to sell shares. I mean, that alone, him turning that down alone, is, but then if you get to the point where we got to raise money, why not just come out and say, hey guys, look, we need to raise money. I need to get more shares of AMC. We need this, or I'm going to have to go this route, and explain it to AMC retail and say, look, I need 100 million shares. I need to raise some dough. The stock would have gone down, but at least you would have had, all the option buyers would have clogged the system up. If you had taken the stock from 20 to 8, and everybody and their mother knew that it was the company dumping shares to get money, you'd be doing volume counts. Like, all right, and if he was smart, he would have said, okay, we've sold 20 million, we've sold 30 million. And as soon as he got to selling 60 million shares, and if he was transparent about it, because if you ever work a big institutional order, millions and millions of shares, once you get to about 63 to 65% of your order done, you can then back off a little bit because your order's hooked, and you can go through the probabilities of what's happening to your average if you sell here and there. But for the most part, the stock will start to behave differently, because you can take your foot off of its head, because you got to do what you got to do to get your order hooked if you're selling a bazillion shares. Same thing here. Had he come out and said, look, we're selling 100 million shares, and we're going to be 10, 15, 20% of the volume every day, and just let it get walked down, let it find that market clearing price, but stay with it. Stay every 100 shares it sells, the company sells 15 shares, all the way down, and say, look, today we sold 8 million, 12 million, and you do this countdown. Okay, we've sold 65 million shares, and we've already raised this amount. Guess what? The stock's going up, and you're selling the rest of your order higher and higher and higher, because you're getting closer to being done. Then the company would have had, $1 billion, $800 million for 100 million shares of dilution, and the shorts would have been dead. Dead. The shorts against the bonds would have been dead. The bonds would rise because the company's healthier. But he didn't even try to do that. He didn't even make any effort to involve or incorporate 3 million retail investors strong who wanted to help the situation.
Well, he's just going to pay out his bondholders after the reverse split when he does capital raise, and they're going to reshort at the top. They'll bring it back down. Then when the bonds go cheap, they'll come back in. He'll issue more debt.
Well, see, the bonds...
AMC is still burning cash until the new revenue streams come in and we see if they work. AMC is going to continue to burn cash.
Well, no, if you take away, if you just look at the model and just take away their debt coverage, the company's is free cash flow positive. They're burning all their cash flow goes to servicing their debt. You take away the debt. So once they raise money on the backside, we're saying the same thing, just a little different. On the backside of the reverse split, I agree that he's going to do a look away. It's going to get drilled back down. He's going to raise money. But as he starts raising money, the bonds are actually going to start to rise because the company is getting recapitalized. And bonds, when the company gets their cash and takes care of their debt, the bonds are going to rise, right? So that's the beautiful situation for the guys that are short the bonds or short the common and long the stock or long the bonds. The one side they get taken care of on the short side, right? The short gets covered, they make money there, and the bonds that they're choking on rise because the financial health of the company is vastly improved. And that's why I talk about the third mouse is going to get cheese. That's going to be the real investable spot, is going to be on the backside of the reverse split.
What retail's confused on, though, is they think Adam Aron's going to come out and just pay off all this debt. He's not going to pay off all the debt. He's just going to restructure it to lower interest rates with deals that he's cut with the debtors who are probably bondholders who are probably short the stock and go from 17% down to 7%.
In order to do that, he needs to raise at least $1 billion, at least $1 billion. I'm going to say
he will.
More, and it really depends on how big the unknown short position is in AMC. Because if the unknown short position is truly 1 billion shares, let's say it's twice the float of AMC.
Right.
And it's 1 billion shares. And that gets 1 for 10. That now it's 100 million shares. And if they need to be covered, and he has 400 million in capacity, and even if he sells 100 million shares at $30 post split, which is $3 now today's numbers, that would raise $3 billion, and that's in essence more than enough to recapitalize the company and have it be free cash flow positive again. So there's that scenario that if these things go through, that's how I see it playing out, which is a positive run on the conversion and a yes vote. And then I think it's going to get actually pushed higher into the reverse split date. Then I think it goes down. I think the company raises money in the months following that. And then if it dips and you get confirmation that they've raised the money, then you want to be a leap buyer. If you want to stay with the play, that'll be the time, in my opinion. But there's still a lot open here where a lot can go sideways, a lot. And the tell will be AMC starting to act real independent of APE. And that started last week. It flashed, but then they got control of it, but it was still, they weren't together. And so maybe if there's going to be a conversion ratio or they're going to pull a fast one on it there, maybe that was the reason it did that. But it could also be that you'd have AMC shorts just getting nervous behind the curtain and getting pushed up. But that is you have to assign a very reasonable probability of something going sideways before this vote. It's also completely bizarre. And I'll say this straight up: if I will not be surprised if they try to speed up this whole vote and conversion, because if you're short and you're worried and they want to get this conversion done and wrapped up and put a bow on it, time is now money with this cost to borrow. There's a lot of stress on the borrow, so they're going to want to shrink this thing together. The fact the company still hasn't even given us a timeline of like when they know when this shit's going to go out. Is it going to go out in 90 days?
there's a market pullback coming up, and they're going to announce it in the next 2 weeks, is my theory. And I had a question for you. Say after conversion and after reverse split, is there a waiting period before Aron can even do another share offering? Is there like a 30, 60-day waiting period?
I don't know. I don't think so, but it could be.
If there's a waiting period, the shorts are going to come back in after reverse split, drag it down to 20, and he's going to have to raise under 20.
Well, look, I mean, we already saw that he gave them a waiting period with APE, right? They'd opened at 10. His first sale wasn't until 2. Okay, he already gave them a waiting period and looked away. That's when he went on his little walkabout, right? When the stock was getting drilled. Of course, that was him waiting. If there's a forced waiting period or if there isn't, he's still going to give them that window to do their dirty work because it doesn't benefit. This is what they're going to do. Then he's going to come in and say, "Hey, look at that! I was able to raise all this money, and I'm gonna retire because the company has been saved. I saved the company. It's recapitalized. We're doing great. The problem is if the original retail holder or shareholder is going to have 10% of the shares they used to have. And so that's that's that scenario. The other scenario is something behind the curtain blows up and the AMC short goes on a mega tear because no one can put out the forest fire if it catches on fire. The company can't help. And what they'll do is, what I suspect is, and why I differ with your opinion on APE, is that if something happens there or it's a no vote, and the liquidity in AMC starts to get stupid, they're going to come to APE as a like security because it is truly a like security. It's equal in every other factor to AMC, so it'll protect them on the AMC side. But that means there's going to be significant buying coming into APE. Because of the better liquidity. There's 941 million shares there versus 516 over here. Where are you going to go if you have to cover something or buy something of a like security? Well, you're going to go buy APE. You're not going to sell APE. If they're long APE and they're short AMC and the vote goes no, they're not dumping their APE. They're buying more APE because they need to at least buy a like security for protection against AMC going against them. So I don't see a negative scenario on a no vote for APE. I actually see a bullish scenario. I also don't understand and would like an explanation as to why the hell aren't you just continuing to raise on the APE side? If you need to reverse split something, well, just keep trashing the college rental house, right? And we all know it. And everyone can offset their dilution by buying more and say, okay, we're going to start 1 for 5 and we're going. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to do another 1 for 2 and then get to it. And everyone knows what's going on. The company needs to raise this amount of money and everyone can do the math on what prices the stock's trading on. It means what kind of whatever, but it would also require them changing the terms of the ATM that they set up, which would allow them to actually sell in the market, which is the whole purpose of an ATM. It's fucking retarded that they would constrict or restrict their ability to hit bids. The whole idea of an ATM is to be able to hit bids. So you keep it all in the APE's head, keep all your fundraising, be more transparent, do a reverse split to get the price up, and there's dilution and people get screwed, but you're only getting screwed on half of your house. Keep the other half of the house nice and pristine and clean, and then you can keep going with it. And then as they raise money, even when they get to 500 million or they get to $1 billion, the whole enterprise is going to rise because the company's getting healthier. And, and not only is BK off the table, it's prosperity is around the fucking corner. And so that was what will happen if you actually wanted to play this the right way. You keep it on the APE side. You make sure it's nice and clear that there'll be no conversion for a year. So let them sweat it out on the AMC side. That will bring their buyers into APEs, which you need to use to fundraise. And then a year out, you collapse the two because it's easier to have, one security than two.
No, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah,
now, realistically, what do you think is going to happen?
If I had to make it, I would make it. I'll I'll go 70% that they're going to jam this votes through somehow, some way. I'd say probably I'll put it at 70% of that, 15% that it goes fucking sideways because something with FTX blows up, and i.e. like a prime broker that might have been accepting these fake token locates.
Well, there's those 600 million something Robinhood shares still sitting in limbo, and I'm telling you, Sam Bankman's Robinhood shares are going to come back to haunt Robinhood big time eventually.
It could be. But so I would, if I had to put probabilities on it, I would say, I guess I'll go 70% that they vote yes because somehow that they've given out enough votes and they can control it that way, or they're going to do something sketchy. I'm not going to rule out that they do something sketchy with this proxy, like we don't get to see all the numbers, just percentages, and they do some weird shit and get it through. I'll put 70% there. I'll put 15 that something goes sideways behind the curtain, which could be prime brokers getting nervous that they were accepting these token locates as a borrow and they realize that they're not, and they start calling shares back in on the AMC side, which would break this all apart. I'd make that 15%, and then I would do 15% that either it's a total no vote or it's a partial, like one yes, one no. Because if they just reverse split AMC, that doesn't help the shorts at all, really, because the company won't have any spare capacity to sell more shares. This is all about getting those 4 billion excess on the APE side converting over to. So that's the built-in increase in authorized shares that he really wanted in AMC a long time ago, but he chose not to. He only wanted it when the price is here. At this point, he didn't want it when it could have really, really saved the company for literally. I mean, if you think about it, 10 million shares at 45 is more, would have raised $150 million more than the 357 million shares he just puked under a buck. Let that, to quote Elon, let that sink in. Think about that. He turned down, he pulled the vote. He's the one who says, my first job is to save the company. Wait a minute. Your first job is to save the company, Mr. I'm saving the ship. Well, why did you turn down the flexibility? That would be like a small business owner having somebody come to them during COVID and you didn't know what the hell was going to happen. And, the guy's, daughter is married to a rich guy or something. And he comes to him and says, hey man, listen, I'll give you $1 million credit line. You know what? You don't have to take, you don't have to pay me for anything for it. You don't have to use it, but I'm just going to, I'm going to put this $1 million over here in this account, this omnibus account, and you can draw on it. And if you need it, there's no CEO on the planet that would not take that flexibility, right? I mean, you would say no terms. I don't have to use it. Don't have to start paying interest. Nope. It's just a $1 million credit line. I want your bar, restaurant to survive. But if you have to dip into it, you go ahead. And it's this terms. That's in essence, he turned that down. He said, you know what? We're good. I know we're hemorrhaging on $4 billion in debt, but you know what? I'm good. I don't want that flexibility. I want to have no ability to raise money. It's beyond comprehension. The guy went to Harvard. You don't minimize your flexibility when you're a CEO running a movie company during a pandemic. There was no cost or anything to him by allowing that vote to be yes and being like, yeah, I have capacity to sell 50 million shares. I don't have to sell all of them, but it's nice that if we need to, we can sell them. He turned down that ability. I'd like an explanation for that one. But now at 66 cents, he's telling people, hey, man, I need to keep this company alive. My first job is to, not to the apes, but it's to keeping this ship afloat. We need a fucking break. You didn't want it then, but now you wanted it now, and the only thing different is a year? Come on. I don't buy it. So those would be the scenarios that I would lay out. And I don't know if I won't even venture a guess if it's a split vote. I don't know. A conversion without a reverse. Conversion without a reverse, I think, would probably be the most bearish of the three. because
Yeah.
then you would convert over. AMC would probably still be in the single digits, but now with a bigger float, and he has 4 billion shares to sell.
And less chance of a higher capital raise. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. And then he would be forced to selling 1 billion shares at $3.50 instead of 100 million, and
Yep.
it would be a little sloppier. So that's how I make it. It's just my opinion. It's just the way I think through things.
That's what I'm worried about. All the people who don't want conversion, even though conversion, like you said, probably I think 70-80% chance it goes through. If conversion goes through and people say, well, I'm going to vote no on reverse split just because I don't want it. If conversion goes through and the reverse split doesn't pass, it's going to be a disaster, like an absolute disaster.
Well, I don't know if it's I wouldn't characterize it as a disaster, because reverse splits are never good. I would never, if you don't have to vote for a reverse split, no retail should ever vote for a reverse split, period. So
I would say a disaster for the company in terms of capital raise.
All I think it would just mush the stock pretty hard without any much of a run, right? I think it would just it would just be a lump in, it would just be stuck in the mud until a lot of shares came out. But at least on the positive side there, that you have options and other stuff on there that could generate that could really clog up the system on the buy side, meaning it can generate a lot of buying. And that if he had to, sell 500 million shares starting at $4 and he takes it AMC to 2, but at least you're going to be able to really lay in there and not, you will have been diluted on the APE side, but at least the conversion, the reverse split doesn't happen. So you'll have 1-for-1 in shares, and you can just buy more and have it be what it's going to be. I don't know. I don't see any disaster. I really don't, unless something happens in the world that just blows up the movie business and blows everything up. And I don't know. But
I would say I'm pretty bullish on the movie industry right now. The titles that are getting ready to come out and some of the nostalgia that's coming back into the movie theater industry is really good.
That's fine, but look, that really has no bearing. Put it this way: the company got COVID did too much damage. They're going to need to do something. They need to reorg to get out of this. It's not necessarily the company's fault.
I'd say Congress did the damage by allowing it to be shorted during the lockdown.
That's a whole different, whole different conversation. It should never have been able to happen because of the rules the SEC does, but we can't talk about all that stuff now. This is right now. It doesn't really matter how big Avatar is. It matters because of the confidence and whatever, but it's not going to move the needle in terms of the debt service. The debt needs to be addressed, and how it's addressed is really the conversation. My problem is, you have 3 million willing people, even if it's 1 million. I was on another call and somebody said it's like, when the airlines reorg. It's true, but airlines didn't have this passionate investor base that would absolutely, I absolutely believe that if you split reverse split 8 1-for-5, and he came out and said we need to sell 500 million shares at 5, we will be out there in the market with Citigroup. And you give Citigroup instructions that this does not go 501 without us selling 500 million shares. You're there every day. And what would happen is, at first, the hedgies would jump in front and laugh and whatever and just stop themselves out against this big offering. But gradually what will happen is they're going to be like, oh, shit, here come 3 million 4-year-olds, and they're starting to eat on the whale. And then what will happen is, then that'll become your known liquidity out there. And then the big boys who are short will come in and just go take it all up. The company gets $2.5 billion. We're on our way. And there's instead of you'd have 1.1 billion of total shares outstanding instead of 1.4, 1.5, would have saved you a pretty good chunk. And then if you want to do something down the line on conversion, that's a different discussion.
Yeah. And the whole thing with APE, what people are certain of, what they don't realize is they thought APE was for retail. APE had nothing to do with helping retail out. Everybody thought it was something that Aron was doing. Checkmate. It was checkmate on retail. And I'll tell you why. He made APE so he could buy Regal without cash.
See, I don't. But there's no way of knowing that. We can say
it is now. He tweeted about it months ago. He said APE is going to help us buy open theater locations with Regal, and somebody rug pulled him in that deal. When he sold that first 100 million, I'll find the tweet, but when he sold that first 100 million APE under $1.50, somebody leaked it. He didn't want that getting out. He rage tweeted a couple times, and then they came out and said negotiations with Cineworld to buy Regal locations out is off the table.
I'm in a certain mindset with him that I don't believe a fucking word. And to be honest, it's just, I haven't seen any effort to do the right thing by retail. And so I don't know what's what. You're right about those. Factually, you're absolutely 100% correct. And factually, you're correct that APE was not created to help retail. APE was created to push retail aside so that he could divide and conquer here. And then the second half of the conquer is coming over to the other side of the house and taking care of that. I always thought that he would use APE as a bargaining chip. Like I would think that he would go to like someone like Carl Icahn or go to Disney or and say, look, in exchange for a $2.5 billion credit line so that we can reorg our debt, but without diluting ourselves so bad, we will literally give you 250 million shares of APE with a zero cost basis in return for a $2.5 billion credit line, 10 years out with whatever. That's what I always thought that he was going to use, or with Disney, or with Netflix, or with Amazon, or with Apple, in any different ways. Use it as a freebie, and then come out and say, look, we gave Carl Icahn or we gave Disney 250 million shares of APE. We are getting a $2.5 billion credit line at this interest rate for 10 years. And we are going to now work on some partnerships and we can start to take care of things. They would have made $1 bazillion on their APE, right? If Disney got the 250 million, or Netflix or Amazon, they would have more than paid for their entire line of credit, most likely, right? If APE went to $10, they're sitting on $2.5 billion. That's okay. Even if the credit line burns, they're making money. That's what I always thought the APE was going to be used for. But then it became abundantly clear to me, at least 3 months ago or so, exactly what he was doing when he went on his walkabout.
You know what I really want to know right now is who are the debtors in the Cineworld bankruptcy? Who created the situation where the Regal deal got rug pulled from under Adam Aron? And I think then you're going to find out they're the same people that are setting themselves up to play off of this AMC move with arbitrage and reverse split. They said, you know what? We agreed to sell you Regal locations if you gave us APE stock so we could make money off of the conversion. But then they got a better idea. They said, let's dilute the shit out of them, crush the short position, or not the shorts, but crush the long position in the AMC play because our friends are short it. So we'll make more money coming back, reshorting AMC off the reverse split. Then AMC walks away. They might have raised a little bit of money, but they refused Adam Aron all those new locations. So
for me, that's going too far. I mean, I like a good rabbit hole to go down. That's too much for me. I think this is more simple than that. I think the bond guys, I think there was a hit placed on this company a long time ago. And when they put a hit on these things, they want to own the bonds because then they're the first ones in line for the assets. They short the hell out of the common. They're going to make 100% on the common when it goes bankrupt. They're going to be first in line as bondholders to get a piece of the assets that they want. It got upside down when 4 million apes started buying, and now they were going to get blown up on their short side. Enphase is a good example of what happens when the guys get caught fucking around, because the guys got caught fucking around on a convertible bond.
Wondering if they were doing the same thing to Cineworld, and they were trying to crush these companies, put them all into bankruptcy, and then somebody comes in and buys all the assets out for pennies on the dollar and reorganizes a new movie theater chain.
So I'm not going to go inside you're trying to figure out what they were doing here and there. I think the bigger picture was you have bond guys who were short the common, then you have the likes of SIG and Citadel and some others short it, and this was an exercise to suits taking care of suits. The one thing I will offer up as a last couple of thoughts, then I have to hop. Number one, if anybody has 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22 securities sold not yet covered for SIG and CS, if you could send me that, I'd really appreciate it. I know that there was this giant drop. The one thing we'll be able to see if this all goes through, and like we were talking about, that the conversion goes through, the reverse split goes through, then a big capital raise on the back end, whatever. What we will see, we'll be able to see in real numbers, because the next reports that we see are going to see a big drop in one of those players, right? If they are in fact short, then it's like Citadel's is 65 billion. I think SIG is 88 billion or something. You will see a big drop on the back end if this goes through and the shorts can get out from under this. You're going to see a big drop on the back end on that security sold not yet purchased. I think it'll be, it could be 8, 10, who knows how much, but they're going to have to report it because they will no longer be short. And so you'll see a big drop there, and you'll be able to see kind of who was playing on that side of things. Just as kind of an observation or something to look for. I think we're going to see in the market this year, I think we're going to see more multi-day. We're going to see multi-day halts like they've done. Well, the MMTLP is totally different, but I think they're clear that they're going to use limit up, limit down committee is going to have their hand on the button. And I won't be shocked at all if something were to go sideways in AMC and it starts to go. They're going to literally push the halt button at 3:00 in the afternoon one day and not open it for like 3 days until they can literally move money or do different things. You're going to see
they got to move the FTDs is what's going to happen.
Yeah, something, because if they've made it clear that they're going to, ever since the start of APE, when it first traded and was halted all those times, it's clear that now that's their tool, because they can't. That's basically their next level down of pulling a buy button. It's like, okay, well, no one can trade.
You'll see an insane movement on the options chain where it'll get a lot of call options will be bought and then they'll just disappear. Because like we said, we found out they're doing the buy limit order spoofing to cover those FTDs.
Yeah, and I think it's Daddy 2.0 or whatever. There've been a lot of reports of the spoofing has gone fucking bonkers in AMC in the last month or two. That's bullish. Like, it's annoying and it's awful, but it's bullish, because if that means they don't want to use the ammunition or don't have the ammunition to use, and they're trying to literally, it's like Halloween, boo, boo. After a while, they just keep. If they're doing that, that's leaving more criminal evidence because it's traceable and trackable, and becomes part of a lawsuit if there ever is one. It's who was doing the spoofing. Oh, you were doing the spoofing.
How far can I overdraft my account before I get caught?
Yeah, and like we all know, like if you follow any kind of true crime stuff, I do, and a rushed criminal always will leave more evidence. They just will. I mean, look at MMTLP. They were forced. They had no choice but to literally rob the bank in the middle of the day. And I actually think the FTX going bankrupt and then Caroline and them pleading and getting arrested, I think that sped up this whole thing with AMC. I think it was literally like they had a longer plan here, and then it was like having an inside guy at the bank who was going to give you the key code, the key fob to get into the bank, and then the code to get into the vault. Calls you up and says, hey, they're changing the codes next month. If you're going to do this, you got to do it in the next 30 days. You got to hurry up. That's what I think happened. It was like everything got sped up, because also think about this. Like when they first announced the first capital raise was 125 million shares, I think, right? It was on a Monday. Okay, they went through all these press releases and these tweets about how we have to start converting, we have to do all this other stuff. And then literally 2 days later, they have another big announcement. Why would you? What you can't tell me that in 48 hours that massive debt for equity swap was written up. I mean, writing up those documents and those kind of contracts take months. You don't, or they were in the works, sitting there, and they had to go execute them really quickly because something else behind the scenes pushed the whole thing, shrunk it. I'm still expecting that we see some type of a sped up proxy vote thing. It should proceed according to the next quarter. The proxy should go out. It shouldn't be rushed at all. It should just be, okay, this is what. But if we start seeing like something like, hey, we're going to do a special, super special meeting, and we're not going to really have time to give you guys all the details of the votes until afterwards, but we just need to get this thing voted on. So we're going to send this stuff out tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, it's all changed and it's done in your accounts, and everyone will be sitting there holding Herman going, what the hell just happened? So I'm not predicting it, but I won't be surprised if that ends up happening. So it's a question of just waiting for the next thing, right? And what you want to hope for is, we wake up tomorrow and AMC's 8 bid and APE is 2.
Yep.
That's what you want. You actually don't want APE 6 and AMC 5.
You want a bigger spread.
You want AMC to be going bonkers, not APE.
If APE, and that's the thing, if I see APE catch up with AMC or get anywhere close, I'm going to sell my APE and take profit on it immediately right there.
Well, everyone needs to do whatever they're going to do. I'm not giving anybody financial advice. I'm laying out potential scenarios. If APE does a bit, if we have an inverse day that we saw last week where AMC was up 18% and APE was up 1%, if tomorrow we see APE up 20% and AMC up 1%, and the alligator, I call it the alligator's closing its mouth, meaning the arbitrage spread is closing, that will be indicative to me that behind the scenes they have the votes and they're going to proceed with this conversion and reverse split, because that's what the smart money would go do, because they know apples are going to now turn into pineapples. Right now, only apples can cover apples and only pineapples can cover pineapples. The conversion allows for the cross covering. So if APE goes crazy and has an up 25% day and AMC's only up 2%, that will tell me that the reverse split, they do have the votes and it's going to be moving in that progression. If the opposite happens, where AMC starts to go bonkers and APE lags, that's because they're all fine. The short condition's been taken care of in APE. It's still exposed in AMC. And then that'll tell me that there's a problem behind the curtain and therefore a problem with the vote.
That's exactly why, and people called me stupid for doing this, I bought AMC call options a couple weeks ago, super cheap, out past March 17th.
Yeah.
But I also bought APE in the low, and I'm swinging profit on that, and I'm getting back in next week. I hope we see a little dip in the market. Yeah. But either way, I have low risk on my AMC calls. If AMC runs, I'm making money on my calls. If it runs in the gap spreads, that makes it even better for APE. But like you said, if the opposite happens, I take minimal loss on my calls, and then my APE value's up and I sell it in the money, and I'm good anyways. So
AMC, yeah, it's the market. We don't know what's going to happen, but AMC has a much greater chance to go bonkers than APE, purely because it's been diluted by almost 100%. There are now 1 billion shares of APE out, and there's more that they could actually go and get fairly quickly in APE. In AMC, if it starts to go, like I was saying before, there's nothing anybody can do. They got to go cover, and the same kind of thing can happen that happened before, which was just a big old squeeze. And so AMC has a chance for better, crazier volatility. On the upside, I think the complex has been mechanically moved lower, and typically when shit like that's been mechanically moved down, it's like holding a beach ball under the water. At some point, unless they totally pop it underwater and drown it, even if they take a little bit of air out, even like APE, they've taken some air out of the ball, but it's still 2/3 filled with air. It will rise back to the surface of the water. AMC is being held down, and there hasn't been any air taken out of that. That fucker, if they take their hands off it, it's going to come boiling up out of the water. If you ever hold a beach ball under the water in the pool, and you let it go the deeper you go, the more it's going to come boiling up out of the surface. But if you hold a ball down and take a pin and just put the slightest pinprick and take some air out of that, when you take your hand off, it's going to rise to the top, but it's going to do so in a more orderly fashion. So we're still in the scenario where one beach ball is completely inflated, the other one's been deflated by, half the air is coming out, which means you'll take your hand off and it's going to rise, but it's not going to get out of control. And so that's how I see it. It's much more just to kind of wait and see what information we have to get more information.
Yeah, and that's what if AMC does run, and this is why we're doing the scenario talk today. This is what this call started out as a roundtable on scenario. If AMC runs, my calls go in the money, and then my APE arbitrage gap is amazing, and I make a bunch of money on the conversion. If it doesn't, then you probably see AMC stabilize or come down a little bit, but APE will start to move with it. So either way, I'm set up to make money on low risk. Now, Pedro, thanks for coming in and everybody coming in. We've went over, I think in my mind, every scenario, besides just completely curveball, like a natural disaster, something happening and the market's shut down. So.
Yeah. Obviously, that's the caveat here. If something happens or whatever, but in you're running through the scenarios. It's my opinion. It's not advice. It's my opinion. It's not advice. It's my opinion. It's not advice. I think both are mechanically held lower, just like thousands of other stocks. That's the other thing is it's a little. You have to factor in what else is going on in the market. I mean, this is like the opportunities in the market now are just incredible. So the takedown and what's happened to AMC, I mean, it's been crushing, but at the same time, I can name 100 other companies that it's as bad, if not worse, and they're in much better financial shape. So, you have to factor in the overall market. But I see like 3 or 4 different scenarios, and one of them is kind of mushy to bearish from here, which is it just kind of sits like a lump in the log, and you just get smashed and you just grind and suffer it out.
And, I always say Aron fails to strike while the iron's hot. I was expecting them to already announce the special meeting. If they wait till or past earnings to do this vote, it's going to be a disaster.
See, I don't see it that way. I actually see time is money now for the shorts because this cost to borrow. Obviously, something, if there wasn't the FTX side, I would probably agree with you, Spence. But you have to factor in the FTX and these tokenized shares and these fake locates and not securitized and all this other stuff. You have to factor it in because it's, in my opinion, a very big deal. Time is money, and there's no coincidence that we've had this run in the cost to borrow is correlated with shit going on behind the curtain. When that rises like that, that means somebody is losing a naked borrow and they're running to get a borrow. And on top of it, you have the arbitrage side of here, which is you do have buyers buying APE and shorting AMC as just a typical regular arbitrage, but you still have 100% borrow rate. And even if that number is fake to some degree, it's still it's indicative of stress in the system to hold on to that borrow. And I'm telling you, stress like that, they don't like it. And so time is money. That's why I think we're going to see sketchy behavior trying to rush and speed this whole thing up. So I don't know if it's going to be a disaster if it gets to earnings. It could be. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that
it's a disaster as far as AMC needing to raise capital, because keep in mind, AMC only has $700-800 million on the books, and they're burning so much a quarter.
Yeah.
If they get us down to $300 million in cash reserves and we're not cash flow positive, and they just wait and wait and wait, that's going to be the shorts coming back in as twice as hard all over again. So getting this conversion passed as quick as possible, it might not be good for the big squeeze thesis, but I think as far as getting this new, $1 billion in cash into AMC post reverse split, I think is more important if people want to see the company actually make it out of here.
Yeah, well, time is money for, you're right. Time is money for the company, but time is also money for the shorts. And I don't know how much more ammunition they have. If they're spoofing this much and you have 100+% cost to borrow, I don't know how much more ammunition they have.
That's what the big crypto pump is right now. Liquidity grab.
Yeah, and I don't like I said, I don't know why Aron just didn't come out and just say, look, we need to raise more and we need to do this on the ape side and keep going. I don't get it. That's why I said we just need to wait on more information and kind of see what scenario plays out. But a scenario is going to play out. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, and I think we covered a lot of it in the call. Pedro, thanks for coming in a lot. I want to just give a quick shout out. Naked Truth Inc. is down in there in the listeners thing. And if you guys have not been to nakedtruth.info on the website and you want to know what's going on with Wes Christian and share intel, you guys should definitely go check that out. Like all the information you need's up there.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. Just like I'm not involved in MMTLP. During the robbery, I was long some MMAT Jan 20 calls, I guess, for next week. I bought for, I don't know, 20 cents or something, and they were in the money for, a nanosecond. Then it's getting worked over again. But it's important because they're organized and they're pissed and they're really applying a lot of pressure. And it does relate to the whole battle with AMC, with all this stuff. You got to be supportive. I'm as supportive as I can be for those folks. I talk with John Berta, offer any kind of advice or help, and retweeting and tweeting and anything you can do, because if they can crack through and they can make some change on that side, it's going to change the playing field. And if you change the playing field, it's good for everybody. So I would encourage everybody to support it, even if you don't even know it very well. Take my word for it. There's some big time fuckery going on there that went on there. They left a lot of evidence. There's a good chance that they can actually get some resolution and put some sunlight on this. And so support them. So.
And I'll tell you, I put a big hurting on my following for a while, pushing to try to get Wes Christian in and Naked Truth and all this, and doing the letter drive, which we did a fantastic job on, which you remember Jack actually went and met Aron and asked him in person. But the people in the AMC community who were anti-DRS, anti-share intel, anti-Wes Christian, they're all the ones that are still screaming buy and hodl at this point in time, which blows my mind. And people flock to them. And I love what the MMTLP community is doing right now, because they are focused. They are pissed. They've broken through the FUD, and they don't have to deal with the AMC influencers who are more worried about likes than freaking getting real action done. Any real action item we tried to do in AMC got fudded out by people who are more worried about following than they were about getting something done. And it showed. It absolutely showed. So I'm going to get more involved with the MMTLP crowd just to get caught up in
it's just
more educated on it. But
just support them to help get the word out about what's going on, because it matters. And even if it comes down to like the inability or the reluctance for pulling off an egregious multi-day halt that they couldn't get away with now because there's so many eyeballs, even if it just impacts it that little bit where they hesitate, then that could be everything that cracks it open. So
I don't even own any, so I'm not going to make any money on it, but they're the closest to getting market fairness and taking the, they're right there in the lion's den, in the wolf's nest, closer than anybody's been. So if they win, that's a win for all of retail.
Yeah, or even if it's just the shining the light, it's just the pressure of, FINRA fraud trends almost every day. Yeah. Every day I see it. It's just like it goes every day, and all it takes is someone at FINRA who's like, you know what, I'm not blowing my career up for this bullshit. They asked us to do it. These are the people that did it, and then you break through, right? And so it's a lot of it's just literally shining a light on this shit. So on that note, listen, I'm going to hop, and we'll talk to you later.
Pedro, thank you again. This was a really good call, and I wish there were more calls like these, because this is my chance to make money and get out of this. I don't really want to miss it. So when we have good calls, I can see both the sides. Like,
Sugar, you want me to change that? You fucking shill. You're a fucking shill. Who's telling you?
Sugar is nothing but a clout chaser. I just brought him up to
shill.
expose him. I made
Yeah,
him
you
go to
fucking
expose him.
shill. Yeah, who's paying you? Sit it out, huh? Huh?
Yeah, no, man. But you know,
I'll see you later.
yeah, okay. Have a good
Have a
one.
good one, guys. See ya.
Thank you. You too. Spence, this was good call, man. And you know, if anybody wants to come up and talk, you know, share your views, we get to hear both sides, both scenarios, you know, and you know, people can think for themselves. You know, listen to whatever was talked here, go home, think what's best for you. Like, don't follow anybody blindly. Like, go to all these calls. I'm not saying don't even go to even APE radio, but if you think you can make money and learn something, do it. Because at the end of the day, nobody's gonna pay your bills, you know, and nobody's gonna pay my bills. So learn and make money. And it's a good opportunity with all this, whatever shit show he has created. We have to do the best for us, your own self, man. That's all. But Spence, I really appreciate you doing call, man. This is good. Learned a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've covered about everything we wanted to. We stayed on topic. We had great speakers, great listeners. Also, I want to tell everybody, I posted at the top PK Lance's recording of some of the Sam Bankman-Fried FTX stuff. You should all listen to that. And also, Dade's down in the listener group, and he came up with a really great thread on a AMC Paramount deal, buyout, sideways merger, whatever. Everybody should go read that. But I think right now, and I stepped away for a bit because I was just pissed at what was going on after they sold APE, you know, under $1. But getting ready to play the volatility, understanding it, getting away from the AMC blind cheerleader influencer people that are just telling you to only buy and hodl AMC or only buy and hodl APE, but understanding the volatility that's being created will help you get your money back, and understanding the up and the downside of what's coming in, or if we just go sideways, which, you know, Pedro just covered really well today. So I just want everybody to be able to make some money, and having people in to do a roundtable helps me out. It educates me more. And I think this has been a great space call. We had over 125 and 110 on YouTube. If you guys could just go share the call out on Twitter, get people re-engaged, and let people know, you know, this blind influencer cheerleader crap that's going on has got to end. And also spreading the word about MMTLP, Wes Christian going out. They've got multiple CEOs of multiple companies getting ready to use share intel. So there is progress being made. And that's where I think my focus is going to be from now on, instead of rah, 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 AMC, Ken Griffin is the ultimate villain ever, when, you know, BlackRock may actually be worse than anybody realized. So either way, Sugar, thanks for co-hosting, man. Thanks for everybody coming into the call.
All right, brother. You have a great night.
Yep.
And, you know, on to make money.
Yep. I know you got to get off and go shill all your other crap. So.
Hey, it's time for fake radio, man.
Fake radio, baby. Just letting the call. There it goes. A little bit of lag, so I got to let the call end. Everybody in the chat, thank you for coming. You guys, please like, sub. We're going to keep having calls like this. We're going to start talking more common sense, direct, what's going on with AMC, what's Aron doing, who's short, who's long. This is like the culmination of what I believe the play, what everybody's been waiting for 2 years. And if you don't play it correctly, if you're still, you know, buy and hodl, maybe you're right in the end. Who knows? But I don't think it is. I think the volatility play is going to be where the money making is at, knowing how to play the up, knowing what to do before and after reverse split. But just sitting there doing nothing while the shorts come in, cover, make their money, AA buys some debt back, and then all of a sudden they're reshorting after the reverse split, could get you crushed. Either way, thanks for coming. Please like, sub, share the video. If we get any more good news or any more news at all, we'll come out and we'll talk about it. I'm not just going to make endless videos of the same thing over and over again, though. So either way, thanks for coming. Froggy Stonks out.